The entire UCLA football program has hope for the first time in a long, long time. And it's all thanks to their quarterback, their sophomore quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, or or a guy that, I said Ramis. I don't know what I'm talking about. I know his name. It's Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's fantastic. We'll call him DTR. That's what I usually call him offhand. Last week, it's possible that the best college football game of the entire year was played in Pullman, Washington, between UCLA and Washington State. I was watching it. It was awesome. Most of you guys were asleep. Don't even pretend you were watching. It was a late Saturday night game. And man, it was a wild, fun, high and low emotional event that UCLA won the game 67-63. They rallied from down 32 points to bring themselves back into position. The Washington State and UCLA traded blows back and forth all throughout the end of the fourth quarter, and eventually UCLA found themselves on top. It was awesome. It was so much fun. And it was really the spark that UCLA needed. The UCLA started their year 0-3. They lost to Cincinnati, they lost to San Diego State, and then they got obliterated by Oklahoma. It was a bad, ugly start. And at 0-3, a lot of people, myself included, were beginning to wonder if Chip Kelly, the UCLA head coach, was going to last very much longer. He's only in his second year, but last year he went 3-9. This year had an 0-3 start, played pretty bad. And I've had a lot of doubts about Chip Kelly this entire time, wondering whether or not he could actually completely build a program from the ground up. He once coached at the University of Oregon during a period of fantastic, fantastic greatness. And what he did at Oregon was he inherited a solid program and took a solid foundation and then elevated it to an elite status. And that's impressive, right? That's cool. But what he's never done in college is taken a bad, crappy program and then taken them from bad and crappy and elevated them to an elite status. He's never done that. And I was beginning to wonder, and still kind of have some doubts, whether or not he can actually make that happen. Because at UCLA, he was in a different scenario. He inherited a really crappy, really awful program that was in bad shape. He's got to do a lot of work if he's going to turn that program around. But for the first time since Chip Kelly got to UCLA, I think there's a chance he can succeed. I have a feeling in my heart, and I go, you know what? I look at Chip Kelly and I go, you might be able to make it happen. You might be able to make this work. I think it's interesting that, UCLA has a bunch of really hard things to overcome. The first thing is that, they are always going to be a tough program to build up. No offense to UCLA. I'm sorry to fans listening. I hope you don't get offended. But in Los Angeles, UCLA is the little brother to USC. In a city with two teams, there's always one program or one franchise that's way cooler and has more cachet, right? In New York, I'm sorry, Jets fans, but the Jets are the little brother to the New York Giants. And in the Bay Area, the Oakland A's are the little brother to the San Francisco Giants. In an area that has multiple teams, one of them is always cooler, has a better following, they're a better brand with more history behind them. For example, the Lakers have more history and are the cooler brand, even though I think the Clippers in LA might be actually a better basketball team right now. The Chicago Cubs are cooler than the Chicago White Sox. Because of history and cachet, in Los Angeles, USC is the cooler, better brand in that city. They're better than UCLA. They're the cooler brand. I mean, no offense, it's just being honest. So it's always going to be a tough uphill battle for UCLA. But I'm really excited for them because I think they finally have a chance to climb that mountain and become a great football program. In the second half of the Washington State game, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the quarterback for UCLA, something clicked in him. He's been very average so far throughout his entire career. He played a number of games in 2018. It was kind of ugly. And at the start of 2019, it just wasn't great. I kept waiting, and it hasn't been happening for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But finally, in the second half last week, he came alive. Something clicked, something snapped. And the highly touted, highly recruited, really big, much hyped up, much anticipated quarterback DTR finally settled in. In total, he had 7 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns throwing. He threw for 507 yards, a 65% completion percentage. He also did have an interception. And he just looked lights out, running all over the place, played with confidence, played with poise, running great, making all kinds of incredible throws. And for the first time, I finally had a belief and a glimmer of hope that, oh, wow, maybe UCLA football can make this work. Maybe Chip Kelly at UCLA can succeed. Here's the thing. Chip Kelly with a really good quarterback is a totally different story than Chip Kelly with a bad program and no quarterback. Especially since DTR is only a sophomore. That means that Chip Kelly has time to grow and turn DTR into a special quarterback. I have no idea if Chip Kelly can build a program from scratch. I don't know. Can he actually take a program that's awful and turn them into an elite college football program? I don't know. But I do believe that with a special quarterback, Chip Kelly can win a lot of games. And that is what we're looking at right now. If DTR plays the rest of the year the way he did against Washington State, UCLA's fortunes and their tide has turned. They have a chance to become an elite college football program because of their head coach, who's a great play caller. Say what you want about him. He's an offensive genius. And he might finally have a quarterback worthy of his play calls who can execute at a high level and make all kinds of great plays. Watch UCLA football the rest of this year. I'm curious to watch whether DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, continues to develop and plays well, or was that game against Wazoo just a fluke and is going to fall back from grace and be where he was the rest of the year? Did something click in him? Did he become a different quarterback and finally figure things out? Or is he just going to go back to normal and was last Saturday an anomaly? And if last Saturday was an anomaly, then I think UCLA is in trouble and their head coach could eventually get fired. Okay, one more thing. I want to add more fire to the flame. There are rumors that Urban Meyer could go to USC, University of Southern California, and become their head coach. And he's, of course, a legendary head coach. He's won multiple national championships. And if Urban Meyer does indeed go to USC, that would be wild. My honest hope, as a guy who loves telling stories and loves football, is for both USC and UCLA to be very good. Because I want the USC-UCLA game that's played every year to become a high-stakes, intense, meaningful rivalry where winning and losing has a big impact on all kinds of stuff down the road in the Pac-12 and in the playoff picture and all kinds of stuff. That'd be fun. I want USC-UCLA to become a high-stakes, interesting, chaotic, emotional rivalry. It's already a big rivalry, but it has very little national impact. I would love it if USC and UCLA both became really good football programs, and then their game became a big deal of great importance every single year. That's what I want. That's what I'm rooting for, because it would be really, really fun to see that rivalry reignited as a high-stakes, important rivalry throughout college football. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It is my favorite thing in the entire world. And you may not know, my dream when I graduate college eventually is to do this show as my full-time job. Now, I also want to be very upfront and honest about my plan and what's going on. I recently monetized my YouTube channel. What that means is that some of my videos make money through ad revenue. Now, it's fewer than you think. A lot of my videos get claimed. But in the past, I've received donations through the form of PayPal and Patreon.com. PayPal.me/Zach Schaumler, Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. So because I'm making ad revenue, it felt weird to just get donations. I wanted to give something back to the people who support me on Patreon. So now there's a reward. If you support me on Patreon, you can submit questions at the dollar level or above. You just need to give $1 a month. If you do that, you can submit questions to a pool of questions where I look at. I'll read all the questions on Patreon, and I pick the top couple every episode and read them and answer them on a segment called Ask Zach. Pick the top couple questions and answer them at the end of every single episode. Now, that's for people who want to support me with money. If you have no money to give, I totally understand. I've actually never supported anybody on Patreon. I feel kind of weird about that. I'm a broke college kid myself. I totally understand. But if you believe in me and if you believe in my dream and still want to help me, one thing you can do is help me grow by telling your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Help me grow by telling your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Guys, thank you so much. I know that was a long spiel. I really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.